Okay, well, just to start it out, I am the VCT replay operator, or at least for all of Stage 1 NA. If you've watched any of the VCT VODs from that, pretty much everything on A stream, if you've seen a replay, it's because of me. So that's kind of like the big one. But I also do producing, and I'm also a tape producer. There's a little bit of a distinction there. As for where I came from, education, I actually went to St. Clair College because they had an esports program there, and that's where I started in production. They have a great facility and a great staff to kind of motivate students, and now we're here. So that's kind of where that came in. But to get a little bit more detail, I was also, as for Valorant, because that was my big focus, is probably one of the most experienced, if not by events alone, most experienced replay operator in Valorant, which is kind of cool to say. As well as with me and my team of like-minded peers, when we worked on VCT, we kind of pioneered the Valorant spectating and replay operating, like the way you kind of interact with two observers and the rules and kind of ideas behind replaying and when to and not to. We kind of pioneered that sort of mentality and that sort of workflow, and now it's on display right now in Berlin. If you want to tune into Master 3 Berlin, you'll see pretty much our setup live on stage. So
now the follow-up, why aren't you at Berlin?
This is the fun thing. So they actually have another amazing replay operator. His name is Helium Umbrella. He's insane. Like he comes from CS. He's absolutely crazy with the hardware that Riot uses, which is actually called EVS, not VMix Replay. So he's definitely probably for what they want, definitely a go-to. I'm not as I have to bow down to him. He's definitely more skilled than I am when it comes to FPS, just because his CS background. But hopefully soon TM. That's all I will say with that. But yes, he is also buddy is with Prius and Sapphire, which are the main observers. So he was easy call in. Like they call him for everything. He's insane, absolutely insane. So I was gonna lose to someone, I'd rather lose to him.
And I remember you and the St. Clair. I always said the St. Clair boys back when we were doing CR6 and CRSL. And I remember y'all were just doing like basically like broadcast out of your basement, and it was like super solid. And I was like, COVID is just starting, and you guys like didn't like miss a beat, and you guys were still grinding, still pushing. And I always had a huge amount of respect for y'all over at St. Clair's, especially coming from University of Utah. I was a little bit jealous.
Yeah, I mean that was also an experience. Because fun fact, there's a varsity production team, so I got a scholarship at St. Clair to work on the varsity production team, but that didn't exist until they saw how much work we were putting into each of the shows, and they're like, hey, well, you deserve a reward just as much as any other student, because you're here for every show. You're not here just for the CSGO team, the R6 team. You're here for every single night doing the best job you can. You deserve a scholarship as well. So they kind of made one up. Yeah. And now it's permanent. So
well, you heard that really right. Cool. For any students watching this after the fact or students in the Discord right now, go to St. Clair's. You get a scholarship for broadcast.
They have a really cool facility coming up soon. So definitely.
Spoilers. Cool. So what has been your motivation to keep on doing replays? What's your grind in the morning? What makes you wake up and want to keep on doing this?
It's hard to say. It's hard to put into words, but I find replays a generally fun medium per se. Like it's a really good way to, like, you get to be creative, especially when you're working with someone as talented as Yeti, as my like secondary observer, Eye in the Sky. We get to add our piece. I get to add my kind of touch to the storylines and reinforce things. Like it's just a fun creative medium where there's not as many rules and stuff, and it's so hard for me to put into words, but it's just I genuinely enjoy doing replays. It's a great medium to add value, and I find that I'm also decent. Like I kind of clicked with it. But on the other side, like why maybe I moved from from producing to replaying. Producing is also very stressful. Oh, yes. You have the whole event in your grand scheme. This is replays. Yes, you're still like as a tape producer, you're still responsible for a lot of things, but it's like you come much later in the process. Whereas a director or producer, they're on from day one, and it's a long process. And It's not that I'm disinterested in it. Maybe eventually I'll go back to it, but it's kind of like replays is a bit more in the moment, and you get to jump from different shows, and I get to do a bunch of different games as well. So
Yeah. It's sometimes nice
sorry.
not to have the entire show in your hands. It's
Yeah,
terrifying.
it's not. Well, it's not like a. I don't want to sound like it is a bit terrifying when it's such a grand, like when we're talking about, say this was Masters 3 Berlin.
Mhm.
You know, I'm 0% qualified to do anything that big, but I feel very qualified to control the EVS operators per se and be a tape producer.
Yeah.
So
Hmm. Makes sense.
that's kind of like my area of focus is because I generally enjoy replays.
Yeah. What's you talk about all these events you've been to? What has been your favorite experience of all time so far, and what made it so special?
Probably there's like two standout pieces for me. The first one was beginning of stage 2 VCT. We got the big update for replays. Like they reworked, VMix reworked all of their replay systems. So what you guys are training on now is completely different than it was before. It's the VMix 24 update. And it let me get to record 2 feeds with follow audio, so I could have audio from both clips. And that opened up a world, because before I was basically just recording the main observer's POV, and seeing the same thing from the same POV isn't as interesting all the time, especially when you see it over and over again. So being able to use 2 observing cams to me as like a nerd with replays was very exciting to finally open that door and be able to try new things and experiment and pioneer different things. But then another big one that happened more recently is I went to Spain for Red Bull Campus Clutch Global Finals and got to be a tape producer on that show, and that was insane. It's always a great feeling traveling internationally for work, because when you get there, this is the same feeling I have every single time. It's like you get there and then you're standing in your hotel room, you realize you're in a foreign country being paid to come internationally by a company to do what you love. So it's that would be another standout, because I got to do that with Valorant, because it was the lands weren't a thing with Valorant till more recently. So
Yeah. Good old COVID ruining all
that
the fun
was
for
the
us.
yep. So that would be another standout one for sure.
Hell yeah. I love that. DreamHack Copenhagen, but I think was one of the first experiences that a lot of my friends went to, and it's intimidating for sure going into a country with a brand new language, but it's one of those like exhilarating challenges, especially when you're going for work, where it's like you still have your nice little bubble, and you can still talk to
Mm-hmm.
people, and it's perfectly fine, and you're not super intimidated, but you get to experience it, and it's wonderful.
Oh yeah, 100%. I got to meet so many. It's like it's always take the opportunities to network when you can, and I got to meet all the casters and people I've been working with for months, like 6 months plus in person. I got to, I know you guys talk with Upmine and Sully.
Mm-hmm.
Got to meet Upmine in person. We had, the time of our lives. I got to network with a bunch of people and casters like DDK, Sean Gares, and
Did
kind
you
of,
pet up
talk to them. Oh,
mine's
not Sean
fro?
Gares. Pardon?
Did you pet up mine's fro?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I said, bro, I need this. Can I touch your hair just 1 second? I know it's COVID, man, but I just need to see.
I
So
swear, I
that was
just
fun.
hand sanitize. We're good. We're good. We're
Yeah.
good.
I mean, we all had to get COVID tests, so we knew we were COVID free.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a
So
whole another element to it that I always forget about. It's been so long.
not very fun.
Professional questions. Let's dive right into
Mm-hmm.
it. Tell us about your experience getting hired. Obviously, you've come from working pretty much your own gigs in collegiate and working to get a scholarship at your school, all the way
Mm-hmm.
to doing professional events. What has your hiring experience been like from step 1 to step 30?
From step 1, no one was, no one was hiring per se. Like it was, we wanted to do something, so we would go out and make opportunities for us just to get experience. Like us starting in Valorant, we knew we wanted to get into, because we were always fans of FPSs, and we'd done like Rainbow Six. We're all fans of Riot Games, so we were like, oh, the Riot shooter, 100%. We're jumping on this and running with it as soon as we could. And getting hired, no one hired us. We went to communities that were doing scrims and saying, hey, can we just broadcast this? We just want to try and experiment. And that's what got us noticed by other companies and people in the space, to then reach out or make that connection, or talk to someone, or maybe someone who was playing in the scrims was a part of the team who also knew a guy. So it was just getting out there and putting your name out there, and then making, like, networking through those communities to find some people that are willing to at least pay you a little bit. And then we got noticed by Nerd Street, and they just came in. They're like, "Well, we want you. We know you're the best in the biz. You're coming for everything." And from there, it's just been, I mean, talk about hiring in step 30. They're coming to me. I'm not going to them. But as for finding other things, I'm still networking with other people, sending out emails, trying to find other things. More recently, I'm be doing an event in Toronto, potentially coming up in October. But that's just because I'm constantly keeping in the circles of the community, especially because I'm from like Ontario.
Hmm.
So Toronto's kind of our LA for esports, or the Canada's hub of esports. So connecting with there and keeping ties with the community, just so you could get opportunities and make them for yourself, per
Yeah.
se.
You talk about networking too. Can you explain to us a little bit about what your average day of networking looks like? You talk about like emails. Is it mostly like Twitter DMs? Is it engaging with people on Twitter? LinkedIn, is that of any use? All that kind of stuff.
Um, Twitter, yes, definitely keep like every time I go through tweets and stuff from like VCT, I'll look at people's what their bios say. You know, I'll see people with, people from Riot. I'll see people from other companies, and I'll shoot them a follow, especially if it's in a like-minded place. I mean, I believe was it with you as well? We
Oh,
kind of met mutual on Twitter, so
yes.
it's just like um going through follows. And then if I have questions, like this was a big thing that we had done is this was before Valorant even came out. This was me and in at St. Clair.
Yeah.
Actually, Yeti got the idea, but he messaged someone on Twitter who was like the director or would work freelance as a director for Riot during like LEC, and as well as he did Worlds
Yeah.
the year that we were doing it. And he sent Sean a message and just asked questions and got experience and learned like like, hey, we saw in your league broadcast you do this, how do you do that? He would drop hints and clues because he had open DMs. So we networking by just looking for people with open DMs that are willing to talk. LinkedIn, LinkedIn's also pretty useful, especially in the professional thing. Like once you get much higher, everyone at Riot has a LinkedIn pretty much. So definitely useful. And then as for sending emails, um, this is a good example. I want to get experience using EVS, which is like the industry standard for high end replays. So I would shoot people DMs. I would shoot people emails. I would look on LinkedIn and see people who had experience in Toronto. I saw EVS experience. I would shoot them an email. Said, "Hey, I'm interested in also doing this. Do you know where you like? Where did you start?" Ask them questions like you're asking me questions now. I would ask them, "Hey, where'd you start? Do you know anyone?" And just trying to get connections that way, and kind of explaining who I am and where I'm from, and it's create connections that way. So
Yeah, I know it's a huge problem too with graphics operators, because every show has their own unique flow for how they like to do graphics.
mhm,
And you're
mhm.
either certified or you're not. And sometimes when you're not certified, they just won't even let you touch the broadcast. And it's hard to get those certifications when you don't know exactly what's going on. And EVS is no exception to that. Getting access to that hardware is difficult.
Yep, and expensive if you want to do it yourself.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Hey, VMix replays out, so at least we got a good, cheap, solid solution out there right now.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, 95% of what an EVS could do, VMix replays could do. It's just that 5% that makes it from the go-to industry tool,
Oh yes.
like the high-end industry tool, I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not everywhere. Like if you were to do a like at a smaller land center or an event, they probably won't have an EVS. They'll have something maybe like a ROS system,
Yeah.
replay system.
We've seen a
So
couple people come from like traditional football, and it's like that kind of stuff is like all over the place because they have the crazy budgets, and then you go into esports, and it's just like, yeah, we pieced two computers together, and we hope they
yeah,
work. I'm just like, okay.
yep.
So you're obviously a full-time replay operator now. You're making hopefully good
Mhm.
enough money to live. And what are some of the largest challenges you faced going from college to being full-time esports, and even a more niche of full-time replay operator broadcast esports?
I don't think I'm the best person for this question, just because of COVID, it really accelerated our progress.
Yeah.
And there was just a need for Valorant. You know what I mean? Like there was just a need for online capable operating for replays. Like no replay operator owns an EVS. I'm just telling you that right now. Those things are used like the old. I looked it up. You get a used EVS, like the old system, not even the current one that you'd want with like a 10 input, like an 8 input system. Just the server rack itself is $90,000 used.
Yep.
So no one owns an EVS, and let alone have the capability to do it at home. So there was just a large need for someone of my of replays, which is actually why I transferred from doing producing to the replays. Is I was originally just doing producing, like uh, kind of focusing on that end, kind of seeing what special things we could do, messing with audio and video and adding special features. And then I was like, wait, there's a huge need for replays. Let me pivot and become the only person in that market for online replays. So it was more of just like looking at the market and making that switch so I could become successful and kind of stand out.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the
So,
head. I think that's
but
most Valorant broadcasters in a nutshell. Where like
yeah,
people came from CS:GO, people came from Overwatch League, and they're just like, you know what? I'm kind of bored of this. Let's do this brand new title that like they need qualified people, and especially because the pro scene came out so quickly, it's
yeah.
just like they needed everyone just like that. And
So
Nerd Street's done a great job with it.
yeah, it's hard to answer the question as a challenge, just because the challenge wasn't that there was like actual roadblocks. It was more so making that smart decision to look at my options and transfer into something that I knew would get a lot of thing. Like having the foresight was the challenge, and then it paying off. So I can't really say there was a big challenge because it was such an obvious move for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, mastering a new craft too is very difficult. Can you walk us through what it was like to go from producing to replays at a very high level very quickly?
The that would be the biggest challenge. Then would be confidence. Confidence is a like a lot of people in production, especially casters, suffer from imposter syndrome,
Oh yes.
never knowing if they're good enough or what they're doing is good. Um, so that was probably the biggest challenge I had internally with replays, because I didn't have the years of experience in CS. Kind of like someone like I said, Helium Umbrella, who's at Masters right now. He has that CS background to fall off. He has a good basis of what to do. Um, so he could be somewhat more confident in developing quickly. But as someone who was more producing going into replays, just constantly second guessing what I was doing. That second guessing just made sure I was always rewatching my VODs and making sure what I felt as a spectator, that it made sense what I was doing. And then that's how I'd fast track the experience, because I would be constantly watching my own VODs, seeing what worked, didn't work, making notes, scribbling it down. Don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to do it, especially on the biggest show that you have. I did a completely different, like I tried something completely new in Masters 1, the biggest show that I did online, per se. It was, but the reason I got that idea is because of actually LEC, the guys who do League for in Europe, the LEC, they try new things all the time on broadcast. Like don't be afraid to try something new. So that's how you kind of fast track that your growth, is just trying things and then seeing what works, what didn't work.
Yeah. Did you have any mentors to help you out along the way?
Now I have someone I look up to, definitely as a mentor, because I could relate to this person. Is actually Pinecone.
Mm-hmm.
She works now at Nerd Street. Um, but I wouldn't say mentor. Actually, another mentor-ish person that I would say, just it's a bit tough because this person is a different area of focus. Is also Simo, the caster,
Yeah.
who's actually my teacher at St. Clair College. Fun fact. So if you also want to get some, he's a really good teacher. So I'd say him kind of as a mentor, Pinecone. But it's also, it wasn't where I had a mentor to get where I am. It was, I surround myself with like-minded people. Like if you ever sit in a room with Yeti and Preston, it's just hyper focused. Like their work ethic is infectious, and it's just such a great environment to be in, to force yourself to like keep doing something. So I wouldn't say a mentor. I'd say inspiration, and kind of like I
A good
don't know the right
cohort of
word for it.
people.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think I was reading yesterday, Pinecone posted something about her saying like, "I'm not going to stop until I'm the very best," and I was just like, "Damn, okay."
Yeah.
Like that kind of energy is unrivaled and it's incredible, and it's very hard and rare to find, especially out of college.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So.
Cool. Let's talk about a little bit more of like the technical side of your position.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do your job? Do you have any like specialized tools that you use for your operations? Is it just you using mouse and keyboard? What are some special tips and tricks that you might use?
So I do have some special tools. I started with a Stream Deck and a mouse and keyboard. But I actually now have this thing called, actually, let me see if I could pull it up. My cable's a bit short, but I have a X Touch. It's upside down, unfortunately.
Ooh,
Give
X
it right
keys?
side up.
X
X
keys?
keys. Sorry, X keys, because the other option is there's an X Touch, but it's not as specific. I just riddled my cable routing. I'll fix it later. So I have an X Touch or X keys, like the specific replay one for VMix, because I kind of wanted to emulate. It has a decent emulation of what it would be like to use a replay controller or something like a 3-play system or an EVS.
Mhm.
Definitely not exact, but it was nice to have something that physical. But you don't need it. The only thing I actually really love on that thing is the jog wheel, and you could get a jog wheel for like $90. I forget what it's called.
The
It's a
Shuttle
MIDI
Pro?
controller. Yeah, Shuttle Pro,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So if I could go back, because an X keys is a bit expensive. It's like $1,000 some odd, and then you get a shuttle for like $70 used. And the big thing is that scroll wheel, because you could make a Stream Deck. Like I have a Stream Deck XL that I use for replays. I only use one of them. I have two of them, but that's more for producing. Because of the custom keys, like you could set all your key binds just like the X keys. The X keys is essentially just a Stream Deck without mini displays. You have to put stickers instead of being able to customize it with pictures. So I would do a Stream Deck and then a shuttle, honestly, and a keyboard and mouse, and you could do absolutely like crazy things with it. So
Whenever I see an X key, I'm just like, wow, it feels so old compared, because I'm just so used to the Stream Deck now. And Stream Deck just feels so much better than X keys.
yeah, the only thing I will say is it's nice to have for the fact the buttons are a lot better than the Stream Deck. They're not as mushy. Like it's nice and tactile and it's firm. And number two is it's plug and play. So say I got called out to an event and I'm not bringing my hardware, I could bring my X keys controller and it's built into VMix. The profile is already there.
Oh,
So I could go to any computer in the world that has VMix, plug it in, and then just load the preset. It's
I didn't
done.
know that. Wait, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Huh.
so the only thing that I have different on my X keys is everything is bound the exact same, except for I unbound the in and out. There used to be an in button here, an out button here. So I unbound the use of it because I was actually fat fingering it too much, and I just rather use the in out if I ever need to do a manual in out using my mouse. Then A and B is for audio to help me hear the different. Like this is for when I click this button, it lets me hear game sound,
Yeah.
and then I click this one, it lets me hear replay sound.
Huh.
And then the only other thing I added was, again, it's upside down. I apologize, the cable's too short, but I added D, D, A, B, A, A. And that's basically, I have shortcuts to label replays on the fly. So on a round by round basis in my head, you could remember, like in your head, in theory, for replays for Valorant, there'll be about 10 events per round.
Yeah.
You can label them in between rounds. And you could remember that, but when you're also doing like graphics, because when I did VCT, I was the CG operator as well as the replay operator, as well as a couple other things. Like I wore a lot of hats.
Mhm.
I found that clicking this button, it labels the last replay, and I could label A for attacker, D for defender. So if I knew that the defender is 1, I could say, oh, there's 3 kills from 10s. All my labels that are D are probably him. Let me just look at those again, and then that will be my replay back.
Huh. That's clever. What other because a lot of our replay operators that we have here today are like brand new to it. What other like tags do you use, and what's the flow of an average round look like for you?
I actually, let me see if I can open it up, because I don't know how this is gonna work. Should be able to share my screen. But as for the other tags, I have the attacker tag, the defender tag, which I had said. I have an attacker with a star and a defender with a star. The reason why is, say a lot of kills happen for one, like say Pens gets 3 kills, but he gets a kill, then his teammate gets a kill, and then the teammate gets another kill, then he gets 2 more kills.
Yeah.
I'll put the defender star, so I know that star is from all the same person, and probably the more important thing. And then I also have a trade. That way, like I just know that it's like in replays, you're always labeling it. You're always recording everything. Then you're moving things out to the junk folder when you're done. When you realize it's not needed anymore. So I'm just tagging everything in things that make sense. That way I'm like, oh, it's a trade. I don't really need to show. It's not that important unless it was a trade that won the round. You know what I mean? Like say this trade here allowed this clutch to happen. Like it's just so it's labeled. I probably won't ever really show it. And that's pretty much it for labels, like quick labels. But when it actually comes to labeling the clips after the round is done, I always do round number, team name, or like an abbreviation. So no, but Sentinels, I'll put Sen, for example. And then I always put the amount of kills they got in that round. So 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K. And then I put the player's name in abbreviation. So tens is easily, I'll just do 10. Someone like Dapper, again, easy. But some of the longer names, I'll just do the first 3-4 letters. And then if I want to put a little extra typing, like, consecutive to say that it was a spray down or consecutive kills, like a 1, 2, 3. So the reason why I do that is because when you export them later to do packages of the days, like in Adobe Premiere, say for tomorrow, you want a package, but I don't have enough storage in my replay drive to save it. I'll export the clips. When you look in the folder to search for clips, doing it by team name and kill mount lets me like sort through them much easier. Because if you did team name, player name, kill, the file explorer in Windows doesn't like that much. So it's much easier to say, show me all of Sentinel's 5Ks, and then I could see what players were after, per se. So it's that order specifically. So when you export it, it makes it so much easier to just look it back up.
Yeah. A huge problem with like replays and just in general, and this is just content management period, is just there's so much. Especially an 8-hour broadcast, you probably have easily like 500-600 clips, and it's just there's so much to do and so much to organize and so much, like, especially if you copy them, if you duplicate them, if you're making other day packages, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
How do you handle, what's your like narrative and questions that you're asking yourself as you start to create end of day packages, post match packages, a lot of these, like what you're trying to tell in a story for these packages?
For the story, it like say it was a dominant performance from a team, but it was like kind of even. Like you'll see that in the clips. You'll see a lot of more like you'll see like a lot of clips labeled. Like I'll see 3K, 4K, 3K, 4K, and then I'll see. It doesn't matter the player's name, but I know that this team 12-0'd, right, or 12, 13-1. Sorry. So you know that it's like that storyline is basically this team dominated. Let me get all the clips that show them dominating. So if they had one player get an ace, one player get a 4K, quick kills, I'll put those together. If the game started off strong for one team or one player stood out at the beginning, but then it turned into just a wipe from once they switch sides, like it's hard to say the mentality. Like the clips you keep are definitely the more multi frags. Like when you just have a single kill in a round is not really that important because it didn't lead to anything.
Yeah.
So you keep more of the multi frags because that's the story of that round. That person did this, then did that, and that led to this and that. So highlighting like also like if someone got a nice flick, to show that dominance, to show that they're popping off. So when I'm building these end of day packages, I just look at what the game was, just be blunt with it. Like, was it a stomp? Was it not a stomp? Was there, maybe even if it was a stomp, was there still one play that will go down in history as the greatest play ever? I probably should still fit that in. But they're very generalized. It's nothing super specific. Like if it's a stomp, just show the clips, all the good kills from the team that won. If it was a tied game, show the important rounds, the key rounds that maybe swung a couple of rounds in their favor. Like you won this clutch, and if you didn't win that, your money would have been reset and you wouldn't have been able to continue. Like you'll know what those rounds are because the casters will freak out or they'll point it out specifically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it will be pretty obvious what those bigger plays are versus something that's more just like a cool clip.
Yeah.
And then you just put it all together. Like it's more so just being efficient and it's hard to put into words. But I think you get the gist.
Get it done.
I wish it was that easy.
I say as a graphic designer, just pumping out graphics for most of my life.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not very articulate with my words per se.
That's okay.
Not as good at explaining things. I wish actually. Let me see if I could load up a preset and share screen. That would help.
Yeah, I know Soup is asking for an example of any tags that you guys do, and
sure,
slap them in chat. But they can ask more during the final part of this as well. It's the day of the gig. How do you prepare yourself, or even 2 days before? Like, what is your preparation process for a game?
So depending, so the big thing too to distinguish is it a new game? Because more recently with Masters being in play, and the end of the year is basically to just be champions. Like there's not as much VCT per se anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm just branching out. But if I don't know what the game is or I don't know anything about the teams, I might do some a little bit of odd review, see what has happened potentially, and just kind of get a good idea of what the game, what they show, what they don't show for replays. But when it comes to Valorant specifically, um, I like to if it's the second day of an event, I'll actually watch my first day's VOD and kind of see what I like, what I didn't like. Like I said, you always VOD review, you're always trying something new. And then for preparation, I like to set up my tags or my folders, because from events list 1 to 20, you can actually label them. So if I know I'm doing 3 best of 3s, I'll actually label the folders in which I'm going to put game 1 of the best of 3 number 1, game 2 of the best of 3 number 2, just so I know what I'm looking at and I can keep organized. Because this is actually something I'm surprised I haven't mentioned yet, but replays is all about efficiency and organization. Like you need to be incredibly efficient, especially in Valorant, because of the turnover time. Like something like Warzone, you take all the time you want. You have the entire battle royale to worry about it. But with Valorant, or something happens at the end of a round, which is very likely, you have 5 seconds to turn that over and shut at the beginning of the next round. So yeah, preparation just looks like getting myself organized so I'm ready when the show hits, and also maybe just doing a bit of like VOD review and kind of seeing getting myself in the right mindset. Right, if you do VOD review, you're already thinking about Valorant. Thinking about Valorant makes me prepares myself to get into work.
I didn't realize that you could name the tabs. That's awesome. But that's like game changing in my mind right now.
Yeah, that's here. Here. Let me see if I can. No. Boom, boom, boom. Big tip to anyone: always share your screen on VMix, not the application, or else it crashes it.
Yes. I have learned that the hard way multiple times.
So this is actually unfortunately I don't have a VCT still, but this is the last day of Summer Champs from NSG Summer Champs that they did. This is a bit small, but you'll see why. So this is what I mean by the tags. So at the beginning of the day, I would have came in. The one thing I always have my junk folder as number 20. Because the reason why I have a junk folder is because, like I said, you never delete anything with replays. You'll clip something, and if you need it for the round, you keep it. If not, you move it to the junk folder. So the junk folder is basically at any point in time, I could click a button on my X keys that says move to junk. It takes that clip, moves it to the junk folder. And if I ever like, oh shoot, I actually need it, or shoot, I fat fingered, I just go to the junk folder and it's here. And I can just move it back, press move, and move it back to its tab. So always have a junk folder. What this says full is because for Summer Champs, I only needed to do a full package for the game. Like each map had to do a full package. But depending on which the event is, I'll do a play of the day. I'll do a play of the match. I'll do a half package at halftime. I'll do a full package. So you'll see, like when I said I'm coming in and I'm labeling my tabs, is because I'm looking at the run of show and I'm saying, okay, we don't have halftime breaks, or we have halftime breaks. I don't need to do a half package. Let me delete that folder. So that way I know all I'm responsible is this. So it's like laying out what my responsibilities are in front of me, so I don't forget them. And then this was a best of 5. So this is game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4. And we didn't have a game 5 because there's nothing in there.
What's the numbers between? So 2, 4, or are you just using those as separate?
So fun fact is whenever I do a replay package, I never delete it just in case we have a break or delay. Mm-hmm. So if you look in, or normally what I'll do, like this was a quicker show. Like here I have a pack dump because I had enough space for it. But if say this wasn't a best of 5, if this was 3 best of 3s, I'd pretty much be using all of my tabs. So the ones in between, I'll put the highlight packages that I made. So the full packs, I'll copy them into here. So a way if we need to stall for some reason or go back to break and we're like, oh shoot, do you still have that last map's highlights? Yeah. Play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's clever. I like that.
So yeah, this is what I meant about your clipping. So round 1, C9, trade. The reason why these trades aren't in the junk folder is probably because they were pretty decent. So I might have like potentially used them just to show some replays. This was a C9 bonus win. So C9 was on their bonus and they won it, which was cool. On round 3, Zeta got 2 kills. They got another 2 kills on round 4. So Zeta was popping off. EU, NRG got 2 kills. This is how I clip them. So when I look at this and I go to the end of the game and I see, per se, it says it's 12-2. You can't see it because it's too small, but I have my second screen. I'll show it to you in a second. C9 stomped. C9 won 12-2 or 13-2. So when I'm making my highlight package, fun fact, also, this is something that's going to be really cool, is when you're making highlight packages, if you press control on your keyboard, you could highlight clips individually. Always make your package bottom up on the list. The reason why is because as you click on the replays, you see how it's showing me the camera. So if I clip bottom down, it doesn't show me the clip as I'm clicking them. So if I clip bottom up, I'll say, okay, I want to show the last round because that was an important round, round 15. So if C9 Leaf gets a 3K, so let me do a closer clip, and then this 3K. And I'm like, oh shoot, what was that 3K like? Well, here it is. This is his 3K. Because I see it because I'm clipping bottom up because it always shows me the clip that I'm clicking on. So if I don't remember what the clip is, I could just scroll a bit forward and see what it was. So this was his last kill. So he jumps out the window and boom, kills. And then this is the last kill up, he defuses. But yeah, so that's why you clip bottom up. And then there's your duration, your total duration. So I have 13 seconds and I know it's a stomp from C9. So I'll just go C9 Mitch, 2K. This one was a 2-star clip from EU. So he had a 3K. Let's see. Was it cool? It was pretty cool, but I'll keep it in there for now. If I need some more time, or if it was that substantial that the casters want to talk about it again, maybe that's why I started 2 stars. Yeah, I'll just build up the clip. I'll build up from there. I don't want energy because C9 kind of stomped, and there we go. So I have 30 seconds of replays. My producer says play them. I'll just do copy, paste, play. So yeah, that's kind of why I have those tags the way I have them. And like I said, building that story, stomp them on energy.
Cool.
And, let you see them as you go up. But as the round goes on, like I said, I have those quick tags. So as the round happens, I'll clip. The clips will be blank names, and I'll tag them defense or attack, and just kind of use my brain integrated RAM to remember what the clips are associated to. Because you'll remember, oh, this guy got 3 kills, and it's the defender. So all my defense related clips are gonna be, say they got 4 kills total. That's 4 clips. I could figure out which one is the odd one out and get the 3K. And then once I show it, that's when I'll go back and label them specifically. So that's only if I want to keep them. If I'm like, that round was a wash, nothing's important, I just highlight them all, move to junk. Well, so the tags are specific is because I find the time after I'm done showing my replays, if I showed them, to quickly label them before the next round starts. And that's where the efficiency comes in, just being able to type 15 on your keyboard quickly, C9. That's why they're very short names, because you can do 15 C9 3K Leaf, and then you can actually just copy and paste the tags by right clicking and just Control V. So as much as it sounds like they're very precise, it's you find the time to do it very quickly. You can do it in like 5 seconds flat. Yeah.
Nice.
I hope that answers the question.
It did. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, you were. Yes, well, am I good? Am I good for you?
Yes, I think it was my
Perfect.
bad. I don't know what was going on. I think Photoshop was eating all my RAM again.
Sam, close your 97 tabs of Chrome.
You should try downloading some RAM. I hear that works.
I had a couple questions going back to how you prep too. In terms of what's the word I'm looking for? In terms of providing your own equipment versus equipment being provided for you, what's it look like? Did you have to buy your own copy of VMix? Did you have to buy any other tools that you might need, or is everything provided for you? And what's like, is it normal for one way or the other?
So right off the bat, did you buy your own copy of VMix? I did. I bought my own copy, but you don't have to, because actually I know VMix is what, $60 a month or something like that.
Yeah, I got a lot cheaper.
You could buy monthly if you want. Yeah, you could pay for it monthly, or you could buy it outright. They didn't have that option back then, so I paid for. The cool thing about VMix is you could upgrade your license, unlike other programs. So I bought the VMix 4K and then upgraded it to Pro eventually, because I needed the more replays requirements from having the Pro license. But you don't have to. My buddy Yeti, the Observer, he didn't buy VMix for the longest time. It was until we started doing VCT and he got the funds to actually buy it. I know this is being recorded, and hopefully VMix doesn't hate me for this, but you if you rename your PC and wipe the cache, VMix thinks that your PC is brand new, so you could just use another email and make another free account for the 30-day free trial or whatever. I don't recommend, in the sense of, like, if you can pay for it, do it, but the fact that you could get VMix and just start and get down and dirty, like, this is the last ditch effort. it's an option, and then eventually you buy it, and like like Eddie did. He's like, okay, I love this tool. This is amazing because it gives you 3 months of free trial. So even if you don't even if you don't pirate it for a year or so after starting to use it, like 3 months is a long time to just explore, and $60 a month is fairly reasonable, which is why I like that they did that.
Yeah.
So
I remember
I don't want to
starting
be
at the university and they didn't have the funds to do it. There was a couple of times where it's like, hey, can you swap out the PCs? Just give me a new PC and I'll use VMix again on this new PC, and I would just set up everything up on a new PC. So
yeah.
I full well know
I'm
that
sharing
that
the screen.
experience.
I'll leave it there then. Yeah. Sorry. To continue with that question, just because I want to.
Sure.
Do I have to bring my own equipment? Remote, yes. You're kind of responsible for your own equipment. No, like if you're a freelancer and you're not a part of a company, you're not going to be able to get hired if you don't have the equipment to do your job. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna get hired by the company and they're gonna say, okay, now we're gonna send you everything for you to do the job for us. Like you're freelance, you're your own business. I do my taxes on my own sole proprietorship. So like I have my equipment to do my job freelance, especially remote. But when it comes to stuff expensive like EVS, you're not expected to own it because you're going to a LAN. They have a truck and they have a budget to rent that equipment, and then you do the job. But remote, you need your own equipment. Going to smaller LANs, depending if they have like it's hit or miss. Some of them will have the equipment, some of them won't. Some of them will have a computer for you, but no Stream Deck, or they'll maybe have just a Stream Deck or just a keyboard and mouse. So I'll bring my own X keys. Like I have, they sell a first party case, so I could travel with it, which is nice. So I bought that. So, yeah, it's remote, yes. Big lands, no. Smaller lands, definitely check with the organizers.
Always better to be safe than sorry too. As someone who has forgotten multiple audio adapters, it is better to bring everything and not need it than need it and not have it.
And if you can, even if they do supply your own equipment, even if it's just a basic computer, I also would recommend bringing your own PC, something you're comfortable with and know in and out. Because I had PCs, I did a LAN, and they made fresh PCs for us. It's at a LAN center, so they just took rigs and made a new installed Windows, and they didn't include network drivers. So every time we were doing streams and stuff, it would just disconnect from the network, and we had no idea why. So they're like, lesson learned, bring your own encoder.
Holy cow.
So if you could bring your own computer build, do it.
Holy cow, that's brutal.
Yeah. Don't trust other people with the computer. Trust yours if you can. So even if they did say we have PC, I would try to bring my own.
Amen to that. Okay. One question. We're running out of time here, and I want to make sure the students have enough time to network with you. Brian had a question, and it also kind of pairs off of my question as well. What are 2 new things that replay operators should do to set themselves up for success? What are like the biggest things you can think of?
This was a hard question for me, but the biggest thing I find, like the number one rule of replays that I've learned, no matter how small or big it is, think efficiently. Doing things like setting up your binds in smart ways to accomplish your work quicker and more efficiently, so you can get those quick turnover rates. Think very, 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 very efficiently. And I mean, I know I took a lot of time rambling about some of the questions, so just to guarantee the students have time. If I don't know if like, the issue is like, do they have to go somewhere after? I'll stay for like an extra hour or so. I have no problem talking with them.
I just didn't want to burn through too much of your time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good. Like, tonight I'm good. So this is all booked off for talking with you guys. So
yeah.
I'll definitely stay. That way we could talk about your questions a bit more if need be. But yeah, think efficiently and watch over and work in your practice. Like I save the VOD, like the replays. I'll export the entire 30 minutes of games and keep them, so that way a month later when I forget what happened in that game, I could replay them and practice on my own. So I have the 2 observers. I'll export them separately. So practice and watch over your VODs and just constantly think what works, what didn't work. Think of yourself in the mindset of someone just watching as a casual Twitch viewer. Did that look good? Did that not look good? So think efficiently to set up yourself for success and watch over your work and build off of it constantly. Try some things new.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip, just overall, period. Being efficient with your time and keep on striving for innovation. Be the best you can. It's hard, but...
So yeah, I was typing them out as you were talking, but my first one I had was, while like you're in the live process, like you're actually in the moment, how did you manage, like as you were starting up, how did you like manage to not get overstressed or like overmanaged?
So my first show, I did actually get overstressed and overmanaged per se. Like it was kind of had the foundations, but I wasn't very good at it. And I actually jumped on to do a tournament for the women, which turned out to be an edition series, which it was not supposed to be. So it was a small event turning a big event. So that's what kind of built on the stress. But it just comes with the practice. Like think things that are try to be try to be with your goals doing the replays for the first time. Try to be reasonable. Don't think that you can do everything, like all the small little details. Just to start, try to get, for that round, get the 3Ks, get the 4Ks. Try to get like 5 replays out per half, 3 replays out for half. Like set a realistic goal for your skill level, so that way you're not stressing out like, oh my god, I missed this, oh my god, I missed that. It's like, I understand that I'm going to miss some things here. I'm getting used to one feed, let alone 2 feeds, and being organized. Just if you could, as a starter, if you could get 2 to 3 replays per half, you're already doing better than everyone I've worked with. Because I've worked as a producer with replay operators that were not doing it for the first time, especially doing video games, like doing Valorant for the first time. This person didn't know the characters. So when I tried to say, oh, Jet got a 3K, can you get that for me? They're like, who's Jet? Like, what's a Jet? So yeah, just set some attainable goal for yourself, so you're not overstressed that you're potentially doing something wrong, because you understood that coming into this is what you were expecting yourself to do.
Gotcha. That's actually really smart. Thank you.
And then yeah, I know you had some other questions.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to jump
Uh,
between.
do you want to go, Aiden?
Yeah, we can alternate. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah.
I think so. You said that NSG contacted you from your like college experiences and said you're the best in the game. We want you, and that's how you got your in, right? Say that didn't happen. What would be your plans next? Like, how would you get into this scene? Because obviously you have yourself established, but like you need somewhere to be, if that makes any sense. Like, where would you go from that point?
So actually, to get a bit more specific with how NSG picked us up, so Simo was our teacher, and he popped up at the Valorant as a caster. He started doing a lot of shows with NSG because NSG was getting the contracts from Riot to do the Ignition series before VCT was established. And he is like, hey, I have these students and they are putting in more work. Like, I'm looking at what they're doing and they're doing it better than anyone else. Like, it was just a undisputable fact that if you watched our gameplay, it was better than anyone else's, even NSG's at the time. And that's what it was his constant barrage to the head of NSG that kind of got him to finally reach out to us and give us an opportunity to talk to him. But if I didn't have Simo there to really, push us in off of his own hype wave, we were just grinding. Like, we had actually done, all of our events were free, unfortunately, at the time. Like, we were just doing things because we wanted to get experience broadcasting, to put our names out there. And I do believe that eventually someone would have saw the work that we were doing, because we were doing some shows, a lot of small shows, a lot of community shows, but then there would be the odd big one. Like, we got contacted by Toronto Valorant and they're like, hey, you do an event for us. And that one led us to work with big casters that potentially could pass our name on, or like what we did. And just it's to loop back, it's to I do think eventually someone would have noticed us and kind of brought us in to do some of the bigger stuff. It's just taking a lot more time. So I would have constantly just kept grinding. It's just all about grinding and putting your name out there and trying your best. Because if it's something you actually want to do, you'll find a way to do it. And actors want to be actors, but they're not very famous. They get a day job. They wait tables until they get their big break. And eventually you will, if you keep up the high quality and high standard of work. It's just a fact.
Cool. I like that.